Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode from the Hermitcraft server. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I am having a pretty good morning. I want to apologize right off the bat for this video being a little bit late. I was working on stuff last night, and I decided to lay down just for a little bit to watch one Northern Lion video, and I'm not saying that Northern Lion is a bad YouTuber or a poor entertainer, or that his videos are so boring that they put me to sleep. In fact, I quite like Northern Lion. But I laid down in my bed for one video, and then I woke up and it was 8 o'clock in the morning. Lights are still on in my room. My laptop is still playing YouTube videos. I'm still wearing my sweatshirt and jeans from yesterday. So yeah, I accidentally fell asleep last night. So this video is a little bit late, but that's okay. In today's episode, it's going to be a little bit of a talky episode. In fact, it is going to be a talky episode, and we're going to do some work on the wall. I do want to show you guys the results of the live stream from yesterday. This area, it's coming together. Notice the torch spam being gone. It's hidden under these carpets, the torches, the lighting, which I think works. And it also gives us kind of a little tiny bit of texture variation. The wool texture isn't amazing, but you know what? It's okay. Also, I added the portcullis holders right here, these droppers under each of these gates. That's something that I'd been meaning to do for a while. I just never really got around to it. So those of you who commented and asked about that, thank you for reminding me, because I had it slipped my mind. I meant to do it when I was building these, but I didn't have any droppers with me, so I was like, I'll do it later, and then I just kind of, let it go for a while. But yeah, this area is coming together. We got this street all kind of sorted out. We have also a street light design that we came up with during the live stream. Very, very simple, extremely simple design. It's basically redstone torch, spruce log, redstone lamp, dark oak slab on top. And it's very simple, but I think it works. Not entirely necessary. We're not going to use it everywhere because, in some of these areas, like these narrower streets, it just didn't look right. It just kind of felt out of place. But in areas where the road kind of opens up a bit, I think it works a bit better. And then we also got this street all put in. This is all paved now. We're going to add, I think this is going to be like a little back alley back here. We're going to get some more structures in. There'll probably be a structure here that'll kind of come around and some of that kind of stuff. But we'll have like a little back alley here. Maybe there'll be some shady back alley dealings going on in the castle village. Who knows? But anyway, I want to work on the wall today. This needs to be extended out over in this direction. And this road that we've marked out is actually going to come through a gate right here. There's going to be a gate. So we need to figure out how much space we're going to need and if we want towers. I don't think I want towers on this gate right here. I don't think they're needed inside the city. So let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this will be right here. We'll give ourselves plenty of space. And we'll start the wall over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. All right. So anyway, as I said, today's going to be a little bit of a talky episode. I was talking with one of my military friends relatively recently about something, and it's kind of been on my mind a little bit, and I think there's an interesting life lesson. So she is in a situation where she's dealing with some poor leadership. She's got some poor leaders right now, and she was just kind of talking with me, asking not so much for advice. This friend of mine is someone who I have known for a very long time. We've basically served almost our entire careers together. So we've known each other for a long time, and we're close friends and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it got me thinking, because over the course of my life and military career and all that kind of stuff, you will run into things where sometimes you're going to have poor leaders, poor people who are in a position of authority over you, who are kind of terrible at maybe their job, maybe they're bad at taking care of their subordinates, maybe they're, whatever it may be. It may be a teacher, it may be a boss, it may be, who knows, any number of, and who knows, could be a parent, anyone who's in a position of authority over you. And sometimes you're going to run into situations where it's not enjoyable to work with them or to learn from them or whatever it may be. But I think you can still learn from them. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today is learning from everyone you run into, everyone you encounter and meet and work with. I'm not talking about you meet someone in passing at the grocery store, you say, "Oh, hello," and they say hi. And you say, "Excuse me, please, I need to grab this box of Cheerios," and they move out of the way. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anyone you meet and have, develop some sort of a relationship with of some sort, whether that's a coworker or whatever. And I think there's something to be learned from everyone. Everyone has something to offer you when it comes to learning. And I want to talk specifically about that today. Because it's just kind of something that had been on my mind. My friend, who I was talking about before, what I told her is, you may be dealing with a relatively poor leader right now, but there's still something to be learned from it. Just, kind of drive on and do what you can to deal with it. Because although it's not exactly super fun, sometimes that's necessary. And she said, yeah, you're right. It's still not fun. But anyway, so long story short, over the course of my life, I have had and I'm just going to refer to all of these people as leaders because it's easier that way than saying teachers and parents and leaders and bosses, and you know what I mean? I'm just going to say leaders because that's way easier. Over the course of my life, I have had many of them, many leaders, many bosses, many different positions and environments, and you name it. Everything from teachers, I've obviously, I'm old enough now where I've been through most of, probably all of my schooling for life, to be honest. I'm probably not going to be going back to college because I don't see the need. I can't see myself going back to college to work some sort of a job that I dislike or that I don't want to do. But anyway, I've had many teachers and I've had many leaders over the course of my life. I mean, over 10 years in the military, I've had good ones and I've had some bad ones. It's to be expected. When you serve that many years, you're going to run into that situation. Sometimes people are going to be good, sometimes not so much. And I think that it's very easy to get kind of hung up on this idea that, woe is me. I'm dealing with someone who's an idiot and doesn't know what they're doing. The work environment is toxic, etc. And sometimes, honestly, sometimes that is true. Sometimes you run into these situations where it's not good, because of one specific individual who just doesn't care or prioritizes their own needs above those of their subordinates, over the people they're supposed to be in charge of. But I think you can still learn something from them, because you have the ability to learn from everybody, right? You can learn from the good leaders, and I should also say, I've had some lousy leaders over the years, but I've also had some absolutely fantastic ones who have, without a doubt, been a huge influence on the man and person that I am today. You know, it's not all bad. But I think that, do I have some grass? Yes, I do. Let's just go boop, boop, boop. There we go. And let's actually bring it out here as well. And there we go. Okay, anyway. So as I was saying, before I got so rudely sidetracked and interrupted, why does this look... because that's supposed to be grass there. Okay. As I was saying, you have the ability to learn from everyone. I've had great leaders who have been a huge influence on turning me into the person I am today, and I've had some pretty lousy ones who I've learned very clearly what not to do. But it's still learning, right? I know that I never want to be I'm not going to name any names, but I can think of several people. I never want to be this person who, threw me under the bus when I was a young private, brand new in the Army, and this person was someone who had been around for a very long time and was at the point in their career where they just didn't care anymore. They had like 1 year left before retirement. They had already mentally checked out, and they were like, "Yep, I'm done. Just whatever. I don't care anymore." And they were just bad. They just didn't care at all about their soldiers, and it was eye-opening for me as a young, impressionable private to see that and think, "Wow, I never want to be that guy." Someday, many years from now, when I become an NCO, and for those of you who aren't in the military, NCO is non-commissioned officer. Basically, the NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, they are the people in the military who make things happen, right? The officers, like the captains and the lieutenants and stuff like that, they're the ones who give all the orders and say, "Hey, this is what we want to happen." The NCOs are your sergeants, staff sergeants, master sergeants, first sergeants, etc. Anyone who has a sergeant after their name, or if you're in the Navy, because they gotta be funny, the petty officers. Navy. No, that's just kidding. I like to poke fun. But anyway, they're the people who actually make everything happen. So the officers say, "This is what we want to happen," and the NCOs are the ones who say, "Okay, troops, this is what's got to get done," and make those things happen. They're the ones who realistically run the Army, right? The officers say, "This is what needs to happen," and the NCOs are the ones who make sure that those orders get carried out. But anyway, so I said at that time, someday, many years from now, when I get my stripes, when I become an NCO, when I'm a sergeant, I never want to be like this guy. I never want to get that point where I've just stopped caring about my soldiers, about my job, about anything. Because that was where this person that was without a doubt the point where this person had hit. He just didn't care anymore. And I'm sure that some of you have run into the same thing. You've had a boss or a teacher or whatever who was right at the point where they were about to retire, and they just didn't care. They were done. Their time was up. They were just counting down the days until their retirement party, so to speak. And it's not an uncommon thing, and I can understand why it happens. I confess, I kind of find myself doing the same thing now that I only have about, 8 more months. I'm out in February of next year. I'll be completely out of the military. That's how much time I have left in the reserve component. But it's detrimental you run into this point where you've stopped caring about everything, and suddenly, you're leaving your people high and dry. Because as a non-commissioned officer, one of your most important aspects of your job is to look out for your younger soldiers, right? It's to take care of those people and make sure that they're taken care of. Make sure that they are doing the right thing. Make sure that they're safe. Make sure that they're properly trained. You're their mentor. You're the person who shows them how they're supposed to behave and what right looks like is the phrase that we often use. And when you stop caring about that, you're basically forgetting one of the most important aspects of that job, and that's very detrimental to the people who you're supposed to be in charge of for obvious reasons. This pig is going to be forever trapped in the wall. Actually, no, he's not. This pig is going to die. There we go. But anyway, you can still learn from those people. You can still look at their actions and their attitudes and stuff like that, and you can say, no, that's not going to be me. I'm never going to let that become me. And you can still take notes and learn from things. On the flip side of that, sometimes you'll have absolutely fantastic bosses or leaders who just, it seems like they know everything. They're so incredibly smart and experienced that they, even though your job is not their job, they still know your job better than you did, because they did all the stuff that you're doing now years ago. They've a perfect example. I had an NCO many years ago, and I'll never forget him. Sergeant First Class Ashenbrunner was his name, and he's still to this day maybe the smartest person that I have ever met in my entire life. The dude was like a walking encyclopedia of knowledge, and he was basically a human resources guy, right? And I'm a paralegal. Those are two jobs that are not similar. But once upon a time, he deployed to the Middle East, and the unit's paralegal had something happen like right before they were supposed to get on planes, where the paralegal wasn't able to go. So they said, hey, you're going to be the paralegal for this deployment as well. And he said, okay, and he did. And he knew my paralegal job better than I did, which is incredible considering he'd never actually done the proper training and schooling and stuff for that job. The guy was just incredibly smart. He was also, it seemed like he was always right. He would say something and people would listen. Even people who greatly outranked him or had been around much longer than he had, when he said something, people listened because he was just that kind of a person. He was, one of those people who always did the right thing and always knew, what you were supposed to be doing. If you had a problem, he knew how to fix it, and if he didn't know how to fix it, he'd figure it out. And I learned a lot from him. I mean, I learned a great deal from him. He was a fantastic mentor, and still to this day is someone who I have an incredible amount of respect for. And I remember, I can't remember if when I first met him, if I was still a specialist or if I was a newly promoted sergeant. I think I was a specialist, and then I got my stripes and became a sergeant like a month or two after I initially met him. But long story short, he is still to this day someone who has my utmost respect and who I have learned very much from, and who has been a major influence on the person who I am today. In many ways, as an NCO, I carry myself like I think there's that saying, what would Jesus do? I think, what would Sergeant Ashenbrunner do? He's one of those guys that you're just like, what would his solution to this problem be? What would he say in this situation, and and sometimes I've even like called him and been like, hey, what do we do? What would you recommend here? Every now and again I'll even like talk to him now, years later. But great guy, great mentor, great leader. And from him, I learned a lot as well. You can learn good and bad things from just about anybody that you run into. Some people teach you what to do, and some people teach you what not to do. And I encourage you, if you're in a situation where you're dealing with someone, some sort of leader who doesn't have your respect. So let's put it that way. Someone who does not have your respect. I would encourage you to look at it as a learning opportunity. Look at it as a chance to learn about what to do, or for that matter, what not to do. Let's see. We need to go how high here? I forget. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the 8th block. Okay, so we're basically going up 7. Anyway, that's without a doubt what I would say is your best course of action. Look at it as an opportunity, because sometimes your methods for dealing with those situations or your options are sometimes quite limited. Sometimes you'll run into a situation where there's not really much you can do about it. You could quit your job. Well, there's obvious issues with that, considering, paychecks are kind of important as an adult. Like, you kind of have to pay your bills and stuff. Believe it or not, I know it's no fun, but it has to be done. You can report them to HR, which, depending on the circumstances, that may be a bit extreme. I've always been one to believe in settling problems at the lowest, handling issues at the lowest level, right? If you don't need to pull other people in to get other people involved, don't. If you can just hash it out, man to man or face to face, however you want to say it, that's, I think, always the best course of action. And sometimes people forget that. Sometimes people are quick to run to HR and be like, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. When often those problems are much better handled at the lowest level. If I can say, hey, look, I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page. Are we good? I think that's a much better way to handle things, because why bring in other parties? Why get other people involved if something can be handled at the lowest level? That's just going to make more trouble than it's worth. Now, certain issues, yeah, absolutely. If there's like a major issue, something illegal going on, something unethical or whatever, like that's different. I'm not talking about major significant things, but smaller scale things where, it's ultimately not that big of an issue. It's just annoyances or grievances. If it's personal issues, right? I don't like the way that you treat me. I don't like the way that you say this, that, and the other thing. Or I don't like the way that you're always criticizing my work or whatever, right? Stuff like that. Handle that stuff at the lowest level if you can, because it's much easier on everybody involved, and it keeps... There's a certain air of professionalism, because when you go into situations where you're dealing with some of that kind of stuff, there's no need to like bring other people into it and make things even more complicated, But you can still learn. Oop, come back, you. You can still learn from those situations too. You learn how to properly handle conflict, because you will run into it over the course of your life. It's going to happen. Everyone over the course of their life is going to have some sort of a situation where they're dealing with a boss or a teacher or a leader or whatever who just rubs them the wrong way, right? You just don't want to deal with it. And I get that, and it's a thing, It's something that you're going to run into at some point over the course of your life. But at the same time, I think learning how to handle those circumstances is an important life skill, and learning how to look at things in a positive way, right? Rather than looking at it as, man, my boss, he's such a jerk. I think you're way better off trying to look at it and think to yourself, this is a learning experience. You know, this is a learning opportunity from me. From this boss, I can learn how not to act, or or whatever. I think that's an important part of so that needs to go up right there. Okay. I think that's an important life skill, and it really helps. It really helps, if you can kind of look at things in a different manner and sort of change your mindset, so to speak. It really helps when it comes to staying positive in those circumstances. I am happy to say that I am a very happy individual. I'm an extremely happy guy with my life and with everything. And obviously, now it's very easy to say that. It's very easy for me to say that now. I'm a full-time YouTuber. I'm quite literally living my dream. This is something. I'm working a job that I'm incredibly passionate about, that I love to do, that I couldn't possibly be happier. Does that need to go up right there? Is that right? I feel like yes, because it comes up right here. Okay, got it. Yeah. And life is good. Life is really good for me right now. As I said, I'm working a job that I love, right? I'm living my dream. I'm married to the most wonderful woman ever in Mrs. Wells. She's just incredibly supportive of me all the time. It's hard to imagine my life being better right now, but that hasn't always been the case. I've been through some stuff. I've had some issues over the years, as everyone does. Life is a series of ups and downs. That's just something that happens. But it's so easy, I think, to get hung up in those negative things. And even when a lot of negative stuff was going on in my life, I was still someone who was able to remain generally happy, and it's because of the way that I've looked at those things, right? I try very hard. Like my outlook on it is, if it's something that is within my control, if it's something that I can deal with, and actually deal with in a way that makes sense, then sure, let me devote some attention to it. But if it's something that's outside of my control, if it's something I have no control over whatsoever, there's no reason to let it bother me. And even when bad things are happening, I look at it instead as a learning experience. I look at it as an opportunity to become a better person, a smarter person, a wiser person. And I think that's part of the reason that I've just generally been always such a positive person. Even though I'm, kind of scary sometimes, without a doubt. I'm a horrible, jaded, and crusty, hardened, manly man. Yes, that we'll go with that. No, not really. But yeah, it's just one of those things, But I think I'm going to go ahead and finish up this section of the wall that we laid out, and then I'll be back with you. All right, guys, I am back, and other than this little gatehouse area right here, I think we're pretty much done well, I shouldn't say done. We are done with this portion of the wall. There's still a lot of walls left to build. Let's get kind of an overhead view here, if we can, just real quick. There we go. Yeah, look at that. This place is coming together. I'm loving this. I also love the view of this. Like, as you're flying in over here. Man, it's so nice. This I'm loving this project so much. Unfortunately, though, guys, I am very much out of time for this episode. So, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I do appreciate it, and it really helps out my channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. There are links in the video description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll definitely see you next time.